Coach Parker. I'm the one who sends you the never-ending emails all week, every week. I'm the boys' head coach for those of you that I haven't met yet. I'd like to introduce our staff. The yellow sweatshirt there is Coach Benson. In the white sweater there is Coach Kaufman. Gray shirt here is Coach Najee. And Coach Gabriel over here on the left. Coach Smith will not be joining us this evening. He has prepared some words to be read to you here in a little bit from Coach Gabriel. So I'm going to kind of go over the season as a whole for the guys' side. We'll see what the words are that Coach Gabriel is going to share for Coach Smith, and whatever he forgot I'll fill in as we go, okay? It was a spectacular season for the guys' side. Our numbers are growing to pre-pandemic levels. We started the year with 34 on the roster and quickly whittled down to be about just over 30. We only lost one kid to injury for the duration of the season. We had a couple of other injuries that snuck up and bit a couple of kids that kind of derailed their season, but we finished the conference meet, I believe, with 29 runners competing, all running through the slop and lake bar, and mostly getting PRs. The camping trip, which is always a fun excursion for us, went off without a hitch up at Devil's Lake for some of the guys. It was their first evening away from their parents, which, I mean, my parents kicked me out all the time, so that always floors me. But then we came back, and at the Norski, we were able to win the Norski. The flags, if you get a chance, are all up on the table for both the guys and the girls throughout the season. At the Norski, we ended up winning, and we only really ran a workout as a progression run there, because we had to turn around and go to Verona, where we won these small, well, they called it Division 2, but it was basically the smaller Division 1 teams there. Went over to River Valley and took third at River Valley, which became a somewhat high-octane heat this year with the addition of La Follette and Middleton, and West showed up for that one too, right? We turned around and went to Mount Cora, placed well at Mount Cora. We were just out of the top two. We finished third to two eventual state qualifying teams, Madison East, Madison La Follette. We enjoyed the following Saturday up in Maple Grove, up in West Salem, where we placed second to West Salem. Then we turned around and ran at Portage, won Portage doing a workout, and turned around and was runner-up in Division 1 to Arrowhead at the nightfall meet. The nightfall meet for me is kind of like the energy of the state meet for a lot of our JV guys that don't get to run at the state meet level or sectionals. The nightfall is kind of that, in my opinion, because they all had great performances, even though we had turned around and run it's the second longest homecoming relay that we'd ever run from Fort Atkinson. The furthest, I believe, was Reedsburg. Next year, we'll eclipse all of those records by running from Milton, I believe. They might install light rail by then, I'm not sure. But if I could please have you raise your hand if you volunteered to drive for the homecoming relay. I want to give these folks a special recognition and a round of applause. So after nightfall, then we go down to Shorewood. In Shorewood, we ended up winning after Hagan was put in the race as a result. Wasn't that the one where he got left out? We ended up winning that meet, and then we had to turn our focus. Was that? Oh, why ended up winning the race? 15 minutes. But then we had to turn our focus to conference. We really benefited this year from having not only high-quality runners, but in all honesty, and I told the guys this, the conference is a little bit lower this year on the guys' side. That doesn't take away from the fact that we had a very dominant performance at the conference meet. In fact, I don't go into many of these races overconfident, I don't think. But to turn some sort of juices flowing for the guys, I had to challenge them to see which team could score the fewer points, the JV or the varsity. The varsity ended up tying an all-time Badger Conference low score. What was it, 23 points, I think? And tied an all-time all-conference number of runners with 7 all-conference runners. And then the JV outdid them and scored 19 points, which was a lot of fun to watch because even after the varsity race, after that dominating performances by some of our guys, they were a little disappointed because they were pretty sure that wasn't going to beat the JV. So that was kind of fun to have a little bit of inter-team rivalry with that. We turned around and came back in sectionals. We had, at one point in time, 4 different teams in our sectionals were ranked in the top 20 in the state. So we knew it was going to be actually 5. Plus Holman showed up early on here. So we knew we needed to perform at our best to be able to get through to the state meet. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, but we had some really solid performances by about, I would say, 2/3 of the squad, and only missed out by 3 points. Had 2 state qualifiers. For those of you that didn't follow, we ran Saturday up in Rapids, where the 2 guys, Lucas and Elijah, took 21st and 24th in the race in their first ever performance at the state cross country.
Oh, yes.
So, in a little bit, I'll start handing out individual certificates. But at this time, I'm going to turn over the floor to Coach Gabriel to read a few remarks from Coach Smith.
Neither of you can hear me. I'm not quite the performer. Okay. So as he mentioned, I'm Coach Gabriel, the girls' coach. Coach Smith sent out a message to the girls, some of you saw it before, that you guys know he was going to be able to his rationale. But he did send me with some words regarding his absence. So to start with, before I move into this season, and everybody hear me. Alright. So thoughts from Coach Smith. Please accept an apology for my absence. Since Renee's passing in April, I live life about 15 minutes at a time. When folks ask what the future holds, I reply honestly that I have nothing definitive beyond tomorrow. In my first season 35 years ago, I did not realize how difficult it is to accept when it is the end of the season. There is a grieving process that takes place in the days that follow the end of a season as you adjust to no longer being surrounded by the best kids on the planet. That feeling continues to be just as difficult as it was that first year. I am blessed that the routine of coaching cross country gave me a purpose to get up every day and continue on with life. What I did not anticipate was how hard this season's ending would be, as I have an almost paralyzing response to the endings of anything. I have been rehearsing what I would say tonight in front of all of you, and even alone on a long run, I could not get past even the season recap without emotional. And so all I can do is apologize for not being here tonight. Congrats to the boys team for their conference title and a successful season. The work they put into the off season was very evident. As always, it's rewarding to watch the growth of the season. And then he has a few thank yous on here. First and foremost would be Renee, with whom he would not the added support of the family. All the parents who volunteered at our home meets, especially those who stuck around to help us put away the equipment. Those who volunteered for the Freedom Run. All of you make our program better, and we appreciate all of the efforts that do your sports. So now I'll move on to a brief overview of our season from the perspective of Coach Smith and the girls team. We were concerned over the mild drop in numbers this year. The positive is that it could be a tighter-knit group and put more focus on each individual. We're excited about our returning runners and their development. Early on, we knew we had a high-quality team, and our job as coaches was to maximize who we had before sectional Saturday. We shared a message of, count on me, as a way of saying to each other, I'm going to do everything I can do for our success. In early meets, our first 4 runners were having good finishes, and then we had a larger gap to our 5th scoring runner. As coaches, we knew if we were going to break through, we'd have to reduce that gap by a fair amount. Fortunately, we had 4 runners who could develop and fill in that hole. Meet wins at the Verona, Mount Horeb, and Shorewood Invitationals were evidence that we had a solid team. In fact, the only teams that beat us in any meet this year were state-ranked teams. We earned some good company. The conference meet was bittersweet as we came up 2 points shy of the title, but we had the greatest number of all conference runners of any team, which was 5. And we continued our improvement in solidifying our gap among our scoring set. Heading into the sectional meet, we spent the week committing to one another a complete dedication to each other of all we could do for our preparation. We talked about wanting to perform more for each other than for ourselves. The girls bought into the concept that it was going to be a collective effort that would rule the day, and they ruled it. Saw many positive outcomes to know from the day, but a few stick out as a decision. If somehow we didn't qualify as a team, we would have qualified 3 individuals, the most in school history. If we were in our former traditional group of schools, we would have also been a team qualifier. While being the first girls team to qualify for state, all of the other weekly highlights mattered just as much as those. We would not be the team we are today. Going into the state meet, the coaches panel had us ranked as the number 16 team. The PR time honor roll formulated that we would have around 350 points. As most of you know, we finished 16th with 353 points. We met expectations and can be proud of how we performed as a group under the spotlights. While we may have been out a slight bit comfortably, the race plan was to run within ourselves that first mile, maintain our spots until the downhill after mile 2, and make up as many points as we could, knowing a number of runners paid dearly for starting too fast on that course. In the heat of the race, it looked as though we had given too much ground and would have a difficult time executing our plan. Looking now at the complete statistics, we were successful with that plan. At the first mile mark, we were in 18th place as a team with 416 points. At the 2-mile mark, we had moved up to 16th place with 350 points. As mentioned, we finished with 353 points, and so we continue to move up as planned. We have created a new history, and now we move the bar of what is possible with our program to a higher level.
At this time, I want to make sure that we eat some of that cake that my wife has set back there. Randall's thousands of pieces up. So let's send the kids back. So I'd like to make sure, I didn't know what Coach was going to say, so I'll make a few more remarks now. First off, thank you needs to go to my wife, who not only were we dealing at the beginning of the season with my 48th season of coaching, most of which has been under her regime. But my 48th season, she has to put up with basically me spending almost more time with your children than some of my own. Now, it has helped this last 4 or 5 years that I've got to spend some time with my own children. But my wife also had to deal with taking our oldest to college right before the cross-country season, or right into the cross-country season. So a very special thank you to her this year for navigating all of us being out of the house and away from her. If you don't mind giving her a round. Obviously, I'll mention more about why tolerating your father as a father and as a coach. I'm just very thankful he never had to deal with me also as a teacher. But I do want to recognize that I know it takes a little bit of extra patience on his end to not feel like we're ever not talking about cross country. So I need to recognize him as well. But you can save your applause for him when he comes up to get his certificate. I'd like to thank Coach Smith. That's all I'll say about that. This year has been very special. Last year was the first year the boys program and the girls program both had an assistant coach of our own. And the addition of Coach Gabriel and Coach Vincent has been, it has been such a lifesaver for us. We don't have to feel like we are there for every kid, every minute of every practice and every meeting. He gives us permission to sprinkle a little more as we go through, and that saves a little bit of us to be able to get further into the season with energy. So having Coach Benson here at the high school has been priceless. Not only do I actually know what's going on from the high school, on the off chance you ever try to communicate with your high school boy about what is actually going on with classes or anything like that, and you're lucky to get 2 grunts out of them, Coach Benson is a nice resource to help bridge that gap of communication. He has been a kind, level-headed, calming source for the boys to, I think, be a middleman between, sometimes if they're intimidated to come speak to me, they'll run things past him first. So if you don't mind giving Coach Benson a Coach Kaufman was around last track season with us, so the guys knew who he was. Unfortunately, Hayden had a couple of steps back physically. Those of you that know Hayden, he's a visually impaired runner that had planned on coming out for the cross-country team this year. And in fact, he was at sectionals and was telling me how much he's looking forward to coming out his senior year because he realizes that that's all his eligibility will allow him to run. Apparently he's turning pro after that, I'm not sure. But Coach Kaufman didn't, he showed up and we just kept waiting for Hayden to start. And it kept getting pushed back further and further. And Coach Kaufman, even after it was apparent that, that Hayden wasn't going to be able to run this season, Coach Kaufman had become so intertwined with the team that it wasn't going to feel right without him. And he continued. What was great about, I don't know if you guys know, he used to be an accountant. So the guy loves crunching numbers. So he started combing through results far before Smith and I started sharing some of our PR lists from conference competition, sectional competition. And he already had his own list. So once an accountant, always an accountant, I guess. But he was quite a bit of help, especially with some of the guys that maybe don't quite mean it when I say, do you understand where I'm telling you to run today? And then they wander off 2 miles off one direction. Coach Kaufman was quite the asset when it came to wrangling some of those guys onto the right course. And that's just a product of guys and girls not driving around with their parents with their heads not looking at a phone. So when I say, hey, that big stone church on Main Street, they all nod and smile, and I look at Coach Kaufman and I know, keep an eye on it. So I want to thank Coach Kaufman for his. And then at the Freedom Run this year, Coach Najee approached me. Coach Najee had moved back to DeForest with his wife, who was a native, actually a former student of mine, way back in the day. But he had moved back to the area after having coached in Verona, and then living the last 4 or 5 years over in Europa, and coaching in Europa, and just wanted to get back into some coaching. I personally think he used us to get an all-time like a PR in the marathon down in Chicago. He ran a 242, excuse me, and busted his previous lifetime best. And don't let him fool you, he's not as young as he looks, but he sure is a fast son. So thank you, Coach Najee. In our old age, Coach Benson and myself, and Coach Kaufman, we just kind of have to hang back towards the back. So quite a bit of help there. Coach Gabriel was an unbelievable resource. Especially, I really like the way that she's made connections with the girls and all the girls across the whole team. She's been a great sounding board for Coach Smith as we have grown both in staff, but also having to take 2 buses everywhere. There was a time when Coach Smith and I we took the same bus and we talked about what was going to happen at the meet on the way there and what had happened on the meet on the way back. And that's just not possible now with the size of our teams. So Coach Gabriel has certainly filled the shoes of listener, but also valued opinion for Coach Smith. And I greatly appreciate the role that she fills for the girls team, so if you give it up. Before I get into talking about the guys, my class, I do want to congratulate the girls team. You know, we were around, some of us were around when the girls didn't even have enough runners to score a team. What, not your freshman?
Yeah, goodbye.
Oh,
I missed it.
Awesome. So the first scoring team was with Ms. Peters over there. That was back in the 1800s. But I also remember seeing pictures from Coach Batty's boxes of results and pictures where there was the guys team and then just 1 or 2 girls. And that lasted through the 80s, mid-80s, and even into the late 80s before they had a full scoring team. So to be able to witness history in the making, I'll back up and just talk about conference. I was absolutely speechless at the conference meet with what the girls were doing, both in the varsity and the JV race. They got after it, and it was such an adrenaline rush for me because I don't get to spend day after day talking to them about results and game plans and things like that. When you do that, there's a certain amount of ownership, and with ownership comes pressure. And that pressure gets tense at times. It's fun to be a spectator of high-quality running, and the girls presented that this year. And they presented it both individually and as a team. It was so spectacular to be standing at that starting line and watching them get ready at the state meet. I mean, really, if I were to rank the things in my years of coaching, that's got to be in the top 3 or 4 things I've ever seen. The last years, 4 years especially, watching some of these girls develop from long jumpers in track to hardcore distance runners. It's just been an absolute joy. So I want to congratulate the girls. If we could give them one more round. You get a varsity letter if you averaged in the top 8. 8 is what our conference recognizes as varsity. First 8 at the conference meet are first team, second 8 are second team on conference. So that's what we do. If it's your first varsity letter ever, we'll go through the trinkets real quick. If it's your first varsity letter ever in any sport, you get a varsity letter. Literally what they're called. If it's your first varsity letter in cross country, you get a pin, CC. If it is a multiple varsity letter in cross country, you get a R. And if you have never been out for a sport before, you get the numerals of the year that you're supposed to graduate, 1972, right? So this is for anybody that this is your very first sport. These things all used to go on varsity letters. Before then, they were varsity sweaters. Peter's thing. So, on the guys side, what we'll do is we'll recognize freshmen, bring up the guys, hand out certificates. We have top of each class, so top freshman, top sophomore, junior, senior. And then I also include a sheet of paper, it's not digital, all your results from the season, the whole team, with your personal record highlighted. Coach Smith is including, I think they're a keychain. I don't know if he was a children's pizza or okay, so Coach Smith, not so.
And there's a variety of colors.
So girls will get one of those. We'll take a picture of the freshmen, then we'll recognize the sophomore class, so forth and so on. Seniors have the option of giving a short, no more than 3-minute speech, please no dissertations, when they come up to receive their award. Okay? Do not feel like you have to, but you may do so if you wish. Okay? Started the year at the alumni running somewhere in that 27-28 range. By the end of the season, dropped almost 7 full minutes to be able to run a 21:31 at Lake Farm Park. Young man that I think continues to grow as he runs, just being around the team. He's also very active in the Scouts, so I think that helps him continue to grow as well. I want to recognize Vincent Burke. I was thrilled for you. I had him in 8th grade, very soft-spoken, and his demeanor is not just his personality, it's who he is. He does not make waves, and whatever he does, he just puts his head down and goes about and does his work. He's hardworking, he's intelligent. Sometimes I think he's so quiet that he doesn't want to give me bad news, So when his knee kept giving him more and more and more trouble, I think he wanted to keep it from me, and so we had to put him on the shelf for a couple of weeks. But what was so impressive was he was still able to make his way back, and I think kind of part of that adrenaline rush at conference was able to run his season best of a 21:40, I believe, at the conference meet. Yushin House. A young man that I also had in class last year, quite a dominant middle school runner that doesn't always equate to being able to step into a varsity role, mainly because you're running against 18-year-olds in many cases. But that did not seem to faze Logan this year. Logan came in wanting to make the varsity, and I don't think there was a single race where he did not run in our top 7. He continued to get better. He was helped, I think, by there was a group of 3 of them right back at that 5, 6, 7 spot, which to get better, you have to run with people that make you better. And Logan was lucky enough to be with those guys. Not only did he stick his neck out there in the beginning and middle part of the season to try and run with some of the faster guys, which I think helps, but also he had guys constantly pushing him. So because of that, he continued to get better. Ran his season best, I believe. It wasn't at the conference meet. We had it wasn't at the conference. Well, you tied it at the conference meet, right? It was down to the hundredths of a second or tenths of a second. And he had a bit of a mechanical failure there at the conference meet. But I was impressed that he finished as hard as he did. Came back and ran a very solid race. I think in large part, he was the reason that we got as close as we did to second place in sectionals, but earning his varsity letter as well as top freshman Logan Davis. You know, when you talk about personalities on this team, you are not cut short with Jacob Lefevre. You are not left wanting more. There's so much personality coming at you, especially when we're talking in a circle, and everybody knows that Jacob's there. He has a way of marking his territory that way. But Jacob is one of the grittiest runners that you will ever meet. He's got this little frame, but it just keeps spinning. His legs keep moving, his stride length is longer than an average person his age, and he benefits from that group of 3. Him and Logan and Carter just kept pushing each other. I'd never heard of this horse, and I don't know if Jacob came up with it or if you came up with it. What's it called from the stadium out to... Line. That's the creative name. Literally, they run from the stadium out to Highway B and back. And back. And back. And that's it. And one day, what did you do? 8 miles worth of line, Jacob? There you go. But Jacob is the type of kid that I know will just keep getting better because A, he wants to, and B, he's only going to get stronger. Between the mileage that he's willing to put in and the effort that he puts into those miles, I look forward to seeing what Jacob does over the next 3 years. Jacob Lefevre, come on up. I neglected to mention, but I want to make sure I mention both Logan and Jacob were all conference, which for freshmen in Division I conference is pretty tough to do, so if you don't mind doing that. So I'm sure all the kids actually think his last name is Moby, but it's Mowbray. Tyler Mowbray is another young man I I was thrilled to see him come out for cross country this year. What I was most impressed by, though, from Kyler, not only was his ability to handle some of the miles in the second half of the season, but the way that he was able to get close with the people he was running with, no matter what their age. We're very lucky in cross country that you get a mix of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and you have a few seniors, but that we don't have a junior-senior team like the varsity, or a JV team that houses most of your sophomores. And I think Kyler really benefited and got some really close friends with some of the guys he was running with. I think that they pushed him, and he turned around. In fact, when they came for a time trial after the season was over, there might have been, I'm not going to use the term gambling, but there might have been some side bets going on between Brendan and Moultrie. So I was thrilled to see him make those connections, and I look forward. He's another young man that was able to run his lifetime best the last race of the year. In fact, he dropped 2 minutes from his previous lifetime best to his lifetime best with a 21:31 at the conference meet. Come on up. I don't have to wish for bigger things for Parker. Parker will tell you what bigger things he's going to be doing. He has turned running into a part of his life that if he can't get a ride to practice, he'll run to practice. This last week, or the week of sectionals, I think, when we were still practicing, he had some sort of appointment after school, decided he was going to run after the appointment to come to practice to run more. I didn't ask, do you have to run home too? Yeah. So here's a young man that, he's turned himself into a runner by choice. He's connected with guys on the team. You're never left wondering what's on his mind. His mouth will tell you constantly what's on his mind. But he's a lot of fun to be around. And I know that just based off of his willingness to do the work, the world is his oyster. Come on up, Parker, stand up. Liam Wolf is a first-year, a freshman, I should say. He ran cross country in middle school. I spoke with his mom before the season started, and she was very eager to see that he got to be on the team this year, and wanted to make sure that he was as independent as possible this year. And it was great to see him become more and more independent as the season went. To the point where, he was walking to morning practice for lifting, walking back after lifting to shower, to walk back to school. There was one day when he left and it was raining in the morning, and I drive that way because I'm going to the middle school anyway. I'm like, Lee, you could ask for a ride. Oh, I just live right up here. So, well, where do you live? He lived over across. And I'm like, come on, man, let's not walk in the rain. But that was his willingness to be with the team. He wanted to be around the guys, and I think that the group that he was able to kind of train with was Caden and Boondocks, I think really kind of drove him to continue to get better. As they worked, he worked. As they raced, he raced. And then all of a sudden at the conference meet, he decided, I'm just going to put it out there. And he ended up dropping 3.5 minutes from his previous best time to his best time at the conference meet. He ended up running a 24:56, breaking 25. Is a great accomplishment for Liam. So I want to recognize him. Come on up. off of what Coach Smith has here. I'll add a little bit where I can. And his words here: freshmen, a strong class with a bright future. A number of first-time runners who made great strides. There will be varsity opportunities next fall for some of these girls. So we have 5 freshmen this year. I know that some of them had quite a bit of balancing to do between other sports and other commitments. I'll mention here, we'll go in alphabetical order. Okay. First up, Kinsey Brandel came out for cross country. I know, kind of. The last few weeks of the summer before the season started with some negotiations. I really was thrilled because I've known Kinsey since, well, she was born. And to be able to watch her go from running comfortably with friends to racing. She's one of the few kids that I could really yell what I want to say in the middle of a race. And I know she will respond in a positive fashion. And she did that. I finally had to yell at her and the lady who won the race that we weren't dating, we were racing. And so I think from there, and I think I was at the Verona. So once I saw her start to race, it was a lot of fun. I know she got into some trouble with her legs a little banged up, but it was a great joy to watch Kinsey run this year. Come on, Kinsey. I want to recognize Amelie real quick. Amelie had a transition as far as choosing to not be at school full time, and so this was her connection to other kids. And I think that other than her legs really beginning to wear on her, her shins were beat up by the end of the season, Amelie had a real fun time getting to connect with the girls on the team. So Amelie will be receiving her Achievement Award. Gretchen Hayden was a part of another crew that they were destined to run side by side for the first few races, her and Roush. And so there were some conversations I know that Coach Smith had with those two about, hey, it's great on some days to train together, but you need to start racing. And really, Gretchen started to see some vast improvement, and then we had a setback with her shins. I mean, we're talking the type of shin splints that when you wake up in the morning, they hurt to just walk on hardwood floor. Those of you that ever trained quite a bit, you've had those. You just hopefully go away quicker than rather than later. And they were able to subside enough, I think, towards the conference meet, I believe, and she was able to have, I believe it was the conference meet, we had a really nice race at the conference meet. So I want to recognize with her Achievement Award, Gretchen Hayden. Maddie Parmenter, Mad City is what I've always called her, but Maddie is a very quiet, unassuming child that will fly under the radar until you look over your shoulder and she's kicking everyone's butt. It has been so much fun to watch the competitive side of Maddie, because what I saw in the classroom last year was just a very quiet, hard-working kid that was going to put her nose to the grindstone and do whatever it took. That paid off for her in cross country. I know she got a little bit of an illness there towards the end of the season, which was a real bummer because she was an alternate for that state team and earned that position as well. So it was a lot of fun to see what she was doing, and I just want to mention this so that everybody is my witness. She reminds me very much of a couple of other young freshmen that ended up being state team qualifiers their senior year. So that's a challenge to you, Med City. Come on up and get you over here. And Kara Roush, our 5th senior, freshman. Our 5th freshman, again, was part of a conglomerate at times, a partnership. But then when she started racing, it actually was very apparent to Coach Smith and I what type of pure speed Roush has. She's got a heck of a kick. And if it hadn't been for some hip issues, I think towards the latter part of the season, she would have continued to progress, and we would have seen some, I know that the conference meet was pretty rough on her, but I think she had a lot of fun. I know that she also was balancing time with playing some soccer, I believe. So I look forward to seeing what maybe a summer training can do for her next fall. Kara Roush, come on up, get your our senior class, which is 2 strong. But I'll start with Mason Dobbs. Mason, he kind of had a switch flip last track season and decided that he was a runner and he was going to commit himself to running. He did that. The summer runs that he came to, he was doing distance runs, 8, 9, 10 miles, even in late June, early July, which is a time that most guys wait until their 2nd, 3rd, or 4th summer of training. But Dauber had also committed with the Badger Track Club to be doing those workouts. Was doing some road runs just to get ready for the 5K distance, and quite honestly, it paid off. You don't go from not running cross country to stepping into a conference championship team and earning a varsity letter without a whole lot of hard work. And that's what Dauber did. I was excited to have him on the cross country team and hope that he enjoyed himself as I know I enjoyed having him around. Dauber, come on up and get your varsity. There have been a few times when I've had sprinters on the track team, jumpers on the track team decide that they want to come out and run 5,000 meters. It just doesn't happen that often. I'm not 100% sure I can tell you that CJ enjoyed running 5,000 meters. I know his body did not react well to it. I ended up spending, unfortunately, 4 or 5 weeks, probably should have been more, in a booth. But he was the type of kid, type of personality that not only can he light up a room, but he sure can make the volume on the bus get real loud as well. But CJ was the type of kid that I really enjoyed having on the team. I'm sorry that the season did not go as well as he had hoped it would, but I hope we can get him back and healthy for the track season. CJ Galloway. After a disappointing track season with a possible avulsion fracture in his Achilles, tendon is actually pulling the bone away from the bone. And a long summer, we weren't sure what Max was going to be able to do. Max Gardner, Max Williams. But he was able to do enough and then back off when he had to. Do enough and then back off when he had to. You know, his body, again, was going from wanting to run 200s, 400s, maybe some jumping, to running 5,000 meters. And I think that his body also took control quickly. But his spirits were always up there, especially when CJ was around. But also he was able to keep the energy at a very high level for the team. And that's, I think, what I appreciated the most about Max. So his achievement award, Max Gardner. This young man showed up at a summer run in mid-August, and I was worried. Not only was it hot, but it was one of the afternoon runs, I think, from the splash pad. But Brennan decided that was going to be his first day, and I invited him to do a run, walk, and he did that. What he spoke most about, because I had Brennan a couple of years ago in class, but what he spoke most about was looking forward to being around some of the guys. He worked with some of the guys as a fellow sandwich artist at Subway, but he also knew some of the guys from classes and just liked them enough to tolerate running. By the end of the season, though, I think he saw himself as a runner and already setting goals for next year. He went from not being able to run a full mile in one bout to being able to, I mean, he tried PRing in the mile while time trialing a 5K. Never heard of that, but I think he was pretty close to it, so I want to recognize and thank Brendan Geist. Come on up. Last year I remember talking with Brett's folks at a couple of the meets because he's hard to read sometimes. And I just said, you know, is he having fun? And his father assured me that he was having fun. Came out for the track season, had fun there. Came out for the cross-country season, and he really started working towards getting better this year. And I started seeing him. What was fun about Brett was he was kind of the canary in the coal mine when it came to how everybody else around him was doing. Because Brett was going to run his pace. If other guys got out too fast, Brett knew what he was doing. And that was just after, you know, the year across last year. What was, I think, most enjoyable for me was he was able to run his best time at the conference meet, eclipsing last year's PR by 1 minute and 20 seconds, running just over 21 minutes. I'm hoping he can break that 21-minute mark next year, but I want to recognize Brett Marsh. Caden Lewis is another young man I had a couple of years ago in class when he wanted to start running, and I asked him, you know, what kind of running experience he had. He had not had much running experience. I think that it was kind of a shock to his legs right away, but what was great was every day him and Boone, as they would head out on their runs, would already be talking like two old ladies sitting on the park bench. I mean, it's fun when you can spend time doing something good for you with people that you enjoy being around. And Caden found that this year as far as, you know, I saw him on the swim team, and it's a lot harder to talk while you're swimming than it is while you're running. So I was really appreciative that Caden was kind of able to find that niche. He ran his best time at River Valley, and I think it snuck up on him as to how much it hurts to really run your fastest time. So it took us a while to kind of get him back towards that level of commitment. But he ended the season well and healthy, and so I want to recognize Caden Lewis. Spent most of last year figuring 5,000 meters out, and then in the track season he transitioned to 400 meters, and then came back to 5,000 meters this year. He's a stronger runner than he was last year. I think that he's really investing himself into the sport of running and lifting, so he's gaining strength. What I need from him, and I think he has it in him, because I see it in the 400, is to be able to translate the fire in his eyes in a 400 to a 5K. He loves being around the team. He was the only fully dressed cowboy for the homecoming relay. I've never seen someone run that far in denim, not black. But he brings a lot of fun to the team, and so I hope that he recognizes his ability is still not fully tapped. So come on up, Henry. Caden Meyer couldn't be here tonight. I want to recognize Caden. He had stress fracture last track season. Tried coming around and running some this summer. The stress fracture migrated to the other leg during the cross country season, so I'm hoping that it's just to improve with that. But he had to work tonight, so I want to recognize Caden Meyer. I watched Carter closely. Carter Myers is our next sophomore. I watched him running closely for 3 years. He went from really running effortlessly in middle school and 8th grade, and really dominating a lot of those races with a couple of our other guys, then he got injured the summer before his freshman year and got frustrated having to work towards getting back to that level of accomplishment, I think, in his head. This year he came in clear-headed, and it took him a while to knock the cobwebs off, but as he started zeroing in on that group of 5, 6, 7, those guys on our team, he made all 3 of them better. What I liked the most was his growth and his approach to his races. He started to become a student of running, not just running, but racing, analyzing splits. Once you get to a certain level, if you're not willing to do that, you will not get much better. I think that he was frustrated with his very last race of the season, and I think he can tell you he was over the moon with his execution at the conference meet where he earned second team all conference. I hope that he continues to apply those lessons and stays positive in his training starting next summer. So, Carter Myers, come on up and get started. All right, next sophomore, Wyatt. You know, growing up, Wyatt was a swimmer first, runner second. He ran, in fact, I think some of his first freedom runs, His father took him to the starting line crying in some of them. What Wyatt has turned himself into after making the varsity last year, getting to run with his older brother, I think was a great transition for him. He fully committed to running this summer, putting the mileage in that he needed to, resting when he needed to, and it paid off huge. He ended up dropping not quite a minute, I think somewhere around 55 seconds was it something? But one thing I'll say about dropping time for guys that are running where Wyatt was running, the faster you are, the harder it is to drop time. And to be able to drop 50 some odd seconds from his freshman year to his sophomore year, and he ended up later. To be able to drop that much time and continue to chase people in his own grade, but stay focused on what he needs to do to get better is a difficult thing. And he doesn't let where he is on the team frustrate him, because it makes our team better. To have a runner that is first team all conference and be the third runner on your team, that speaks to both his willingness to be a team player, but his also heart to drive to get better. So I want to recognize with his varsity, second varsity letter, Wyatt Parker. The next sophomore, Blake Rauber, put in a ton of mileage this summer. He was also playing basketball several times a week. Was also working full-time, supporting a small family. But to be able to balance all of those things showed Blake's commitment to cross-country. I think that he loved being a part of this crew. I think that on any other given year, Blake would have been right up there in our top 5, 6, 7 range. But I know that that's only going to drive Blake to work harder as he continues to get stronger and apply himself. You know, I talked last year at the meeting that I never saw a person finish as hard as Blake did at that conference meet. Was that when you go across the finish line to beat that monkey? But it's one of my favorite memories, and I continue to see that output from Blake on a daily basis. I mean, it truly is going to take some sort of sniper to take him out of a race before his own body. He'll let his body give up on him. So it's impressive to watch. I just, for him, I know that breaking that 19-minute mark was huge, and then running in the 1830s was a great accomplishment. I just look forward to seeing what's next for Blake. Come on. Promise the senior class is out this Marcus came out I think a week or two after the season had started. I stepped out of my car and I saw this very fluffy-headed gentleman joining us. And I wondered, hey guys, who are you? And introduced himself, said that he had some buddies on the team, that he wanted to give it a try. What was fun about Marcus was that kind of ignorance is bliss. That first day, did we end up doing quarters out on the grass that first day when you showed up? That was a tough first day, and I fully expected that if his commitment was wavering at all, that was going to send him for the doors, and it didn't. Marcus battled some leg issues as the season progressed. As that happens, if you are not able to put some running in beforehand, but he dove right in and joined the team I think was able to run with some good friends and even meet and make connections with guys. I know him and Jack trained quite a bit together, and it was a lot of fun to see those guys get to know each other. So I want to recognize and thank Marcus Romeo. All right. You know, as an 8th grader and a freshman, I think Lucas turned a lot of heads of a lot of people. So it gets tougher and tougher to impress people when you're already running that far up on a varsity team, especially a conference championship team like we had last year. He continued to apply himself to get better. He takes the time off that he needs to take the time off, and he puts the work in when he needs to put the work in. What I was most impressed by this year was he was better at calming his nerves before the start of races. He became more of a student of cross country, studying times and splits, rather than being told this is what you should do. He started developing those plans on his own. That's really fun to see, because it makes my job easier, where I just have to come in and say, yeah, I think this, or just tweak this, rather than build it from the ground up. Lucas, I think, benefits quite a bit from the training partner that he has here, from the training partners that he has in the summer months with his Badger Track Club. But what I know is our team benefits from him getting better year in and year out. It was a lot of fun to see him race as well as he did, both at the conference meet and at the state meet. I think he'd tell you he's disappointed with his performance at the state meet, but to show up on that stage and run as solid as of a race as, I mean, we talked about what our goals, and he's had races where the last 150, 200, 400 meters really starts to lock up on him. The state course is not forgiving in the last 250 meters. Lucas never locked up. In fact, that was some of the strongest running I've seen in that last 200 meters. He wasn't sprinting past people, but he wasn't letting people go flying past him necessarily. And I was proud of Lucas for that. It shows that he continues to grow as a runner, because he will need to accomplish the goals he has. Lucas, come on. Each year we get some people migrating from other sports. Cashton is a football retiree, and he came out for cross country this year, which is, he's not the only track thrower turned cross country runner that we have. But I think Cashton really was able to start to find a rhythm towards that middle part of the season. Got a little derailed towards the last third of the season, but was able to rebound nicely. I know he didn't finish with the times he wanted to based off of where he was running in the middle of the season, but I was impressed that he was able to, his body was able to put up with an entire season of cross-country training. I think that if he wants to put some time in the summer months, he will only continue to see those times drop. And that's going to be really like it is with all the guys, on Cash to decide. So I want to recognize and thank Cash and team. Come on. sophomore girls. Smith's words here, sophomores will carry a big share of the load next year. Good experience already in this group. Many positive qualities throughout this group. All right. So we'll go in alphabetical order. First up, Delaney. I spoke about Delaney a little bit earlier, but what I'm most impressed with about Delaney is that she's able to be her own person. When you have an older sibling on the same team as you, it's easy to try and fall into the trap of, I need to do what they're doing, or I'm in their shadow, or da-de-da-de-da. Delaney is her own person, and I think that's very impressive for a younger sibling. She was part of the connected at the hip brigade a few times, but she was able to really start to find her own race strategies as the season progressed. Come on up, Delaney Ollick. Gracie Boubre. You know, Gracie had a couple of 2 steps forward, 1 step back this season. She spent some time in Colorado, I believe, at the beginning of the season. Got some great runs in there. Came back talking about how great she felt in elevation. And then it was good to be back and get her really gaining some momentum throughout the season. She continued to move up. Such a strong and gritty runner. And it was absolutely heartbreaking how her season ended with an injury. She had run on the conference team, the sectional team, and helped push some kids to really get that team qualification, and then got real bad news the week off state wasn't able to race at the state meet. But I give her a lot of credit for still showing up to practice on crutches, getting on and off the bus on crutches, and really hobbled around the entire course, mainly on crutches most of the day. I was just, if there's ever the type of kid that you wanted to shelter from that type of injury, Gracie, you didn't deserve it, but I thought you had a heart of a champion on that. Gracie Boubre. We had questions whether or not Reese wanted to run cross country again this year. She came out last year kind of out of the blue, I think, but it was a lot of fun to see her show up this next year. It was a lot of fun to see her show up, and the growth in Reese has been with communication and being able to not only, she's not always, the first time I remember talking to you, Reese, it was you were on the bus going to Devil's Lake. Do you remember what I said to you?
Not that I recall, no.
Put your PlayStation away. And then this year, she's interacting with others and really wanting to get out there and be with the team a little bit more. So that's where I saw Reese's growth. I know she got sidelined with ankle injury towards the end of the season, and so I was sorry to see that, but I want to recognize Reese Griffin. Emma Hermanson. We knew in talking with Coach Smith and Coach Gabriel that the success of our team, we needed that 5th runner. He mentioned it in his notes. Turns out that Irma really started to develop as that number 5 runner. And really started putting her up. I know there was one race where you went out way too hard. But it was nightfall, yeah, where she went out and suffered. But she didn't let that scare her away from being a varsity contributor. So I want to recognize it. It was a great accomplishment for her to qualify with the team. Emma Hermanson with her 2nd varsity award. but there were times when I would just yell at Paige, stop. Paige had the vocal cord thing that affects her breathing, but she will never, ever let that stop her from doing what she wants to do. You might call it stubborn, you might call it bull-headed, I call it Paige myself. She is strong-willed, and she is going to make her body do what her mind wants it to do. Did it give her the time she wanted? No, not necessarily, but it was impressive every single time to see her fight through what her body was trying to get her to stop doing. It's fun to watch you run as much as I want you to stop sometimes. Thanks, Paige. Mary June Nelson, also retaining the top sophomore. MJ has willed and physically altered her approach to running. She has always been strong-willed, I would say. That has never been an issue. But what she has done to make herself better, I remember over the summer months I was doing the strength and conditioning, and she was doing the strength and conditioning, running with the running group, and then playing basketball, right? And we had that conversation about your body is going to eventually tell you you can't do all three of these things all summer long. And I think it sent a message. I think it did. And she listened. And sometimes that's what good runners have to do, is listen to what their bodies say. Let's reevaluate. She reevaluated and it paid high dividends. Finishing at the lead, I don't know all the statistics, so I'm not going to mention it now, but she would have been one of the ones that would have qualified as an individual had our team not qualified. Ended up being our top runner at the state, excuse me, at the state meet, which for a sophomore to show up first time and do that, very impressive. So come on up, MJ. Reagan Smith, also quite a bit of fun to watch while she was coming up through middle school. She has continued to benefit from training not only with the group that we have on this team, but with close friends as well. She continues to push her body. I think that sometimes her feet and her legs want her to back off a little bit, but she fights through it for the betterment of the team. I know that the conference meet was not what she wanted it to be with the amount of mud that was there, but she was able to fight through and be able to run at the sectional meet. And again, even at the state meet, what was impressive was, she was battling an illness at the state meet, but she was still going to show up to that starting line. I think that showed her commitment to this team, and I look forward to seeing what shoes she fills for us next year as well. Reagan Smith. I've enjoyed watching Isla become her own voice and her own person. It's fun because she knows what she's talking about. Do not let her smile and her giggle fool you into being someone that is just here for the ride. She's got goals. She's got things in her head that I think she's just waiting to burst out and share with everybody. Because I've seen some people try and correct her, and she just kind of smiles and nods when she knows she's right. She's spot on almost all of the time. So it's fun watching Isla interact with others, and it's been such a joy to watch her run with the team this year. Isla Thornton. Sophomore. been out for cross country for 3 years now, but I think this summer I would say he would tell you he was the first summer he fully committed to cross country. Not only was he committed to himself, but he committed himself to the team. It's always nice to see these guys kind of grow up, become leaders, start helping with rides and things of that nature. He went from having to ride his bike from Morrisonville now to be able to give rides to and fro if necessary. Connor is, I think, a very pragmatic individual, but he's not afraid to push his own limits. And it's fun to have the pie in the sky guys, and it's fun to have the feet on the ground guys. And Connor does a nice job of making sure that his goals are attainable, but pushing himself. Connor Anhalt, come on. Kirby came into the season again. The great thing about Kirby is that he's going to set some goals, and they're going to be high. Kirby is another 400 runner / 5,000 meter runner. Those are two very different distances. And as Kirby continued to show, he was willing to put himself out there in the first mile. Some races it paid off for him, some races it didn't. He got set back, I don't know, what, 2 weeks you were in the boot? With a potential stress fracture, but I think it was more of a stress reaction. Got it under control and was able to then compete at the rest of the season. The unfortunate part about the day where everybody else was getting PRs was Kirby's race turned into a bit of a slip and slide at the mud pit. And so he went down and was able to, I give him all the credit in the world, he was able to get up and finish the race with a respectable pace. So I appreciate that about Kirby. I know that his goals continue to be lofty, and that's only going to make him a better runner in the future. Kirby, over. I was thrilled for Jack this year to be able to compete the entire season. Jack was sidelined for the vast majority of the year last year with a bum knee. Had maybe a race or two at the beginning of the season and maybe a race or two at the end. Jack was diligent about making sure that that was not going to happen to him again this year. He was a great ambassador to a lot of the new guys that he was running around. He's one of the few guys that I would trust delivering the pizza in this town because he actually knows the streets of DeForest. Grew up on the streets, I recognize that. But Jack is just a great character to have on the team, not only in his moral compass, but also in his ability to adapt to different personalities. So Jack, I look forward to having you again next year. We weren't sure what Miles was going to be able to do this year. He had a bit of a medical setback last winter, right? And so when I met with Miles at the beginning of the summer, we were like, hey man, let's make sure we ease into life, okay? He did that, and I think by doing that, his body was able to adapt to its new situation, and he was able to really start to feel like, hey, I'm moving up, I'm moving up, I'm moving up. I think it was fun to watch him kind of be out for the team because his brother talked him into it, to now being a clear leader of the team. One of the juniors that I know will step into that leadership role next year because he's a voice of reason, but also is going to challenge when needing someone to be challenged. I think that there's a bright future. You were, was it JV runner-up this year? Yeah, and he's already got the history of that race charted out. So I look forward to seeing what Miles can do for us next year. Miles, this year has been full-blown butterfly. He has impressed. He has turned heads. I think there was only one race where he didn't run as our top runner. It was at Mount Horeb, and he was dealing with a chest pull, but he still finished, I think, in the top 6 in the race, top 5 or 6. Elijah has made running a very large part of his life. And in fact, what you get sometimes when that happens is they go overboard with it. But Elijah is still willing to listen to reason. And that's a very important trait when it comes to distance training. Because rest at certain times of the year are as valuable as running, more so in fact. So what's been impressive about Elijah is his networking with other really high-end runners, but also the fact that he still knows what's going on our team. So that's been a lot of fun to watch. He's kind of a satellite that way when it comes to what's going on around the state, but he also very much is boots on the ground here. He ended up, I know he's again a little disappointed with where he finished at the state meet, but to be second place at the sectional meet that he ran, second place at a meet where we had, like I mentioned before, 4 or 5 ranked teams is pretty impressive. And I know that what he raced at the state meet will only drive him to do impressive things next year back up in, well, if it's in there. But Elijah Pavin, come on up and get your top jump. Boondocks. Boone has he's gone from his freshman year, I recall it vividly, a snow squall came through at the sectional meet, or a conference. It was conference, Tim Hughes hosted. And you looked over and Boone was trying to take refuge underneath one of the swings. You go from Boone kind of being on the outskirts of the team to Boone being one of the central pieces of the personality of our team. Boone has continued to gain strength over the years, which I think is going to pay dividends when it comes to his throwing. I know he's putting the miles in the summer, so I know we can see faster times. So what I enjoy most about Boone is that he's going to enjoy whatever he's doing. No matter what I'm yelling at him or anybody else is, he's going to have a good time. And that's infectious. And that's a good thing to have on the team. So, Blue Knox, come on up and get your... AJ ran track for me last year, ran some 400s, some 800s. I think he went down to the 200 on occasion too. Really, towards the end of the track season, said I'd really like to give cross country a try. So we set him up with the communication about when we were training, what kind of training plan we were doing. What was I loved about AJ was not only did he show up to the morning runs, especially or at the afternoon runs out at Cradle Hill, but he would walk the 1.5 miles, 2 miles to get there, and then walk home too. Just enjoyed being outside. But what was great was to watch him transition from running as I think this might be something I like, to really playing the part of making sure he was doing everything he needed to become a better runner. I think he enjoyed being I think he enjoyed being around the team most of the time. He's one of those really quiet guys that you wonder what's going through his head when you look at the look on his face when these guys are doing whatever it is these guys do. And you look at AJ and he's just got this smile on his face like, So, but I enjoyed having him. I look forward to the next track season and next cross country season. AJ Sabatini. Another young man that has made himself into a very high-end runner, earning himself a first-team all-conference award this year with his best time at the Lake Farm of the 1650. His season had some highs and it had some lows, but what we started talking about as the season progressed was running needs to bring you happiness. And I think that it continued to bring him happiness when he's able to sit and think about what not only he can do as a runner, but what running can do for him. I look forward to continuing to see him develop as a distance runner and help our team out in the future, earning his second varsity letter in cross country, Easton Teat. All right, juniors. Words here, hoping we would gain a few numbers out of this group. There is good leadership developing in these three, and he looks forward to seeing what they will do with their senior seasons. The first one up here, Estelle Mellon. What was most impressive about Estelle was her ability to come back to distance running after almost a full year off due to some injuries that she sustained last cross-country season. She kept getting better and better as the season progressed, and that earned her also the top junior runner. Come on up, Estelle Mellon. Another young lady that battled quite a bit of injury last year and still into this year, but as the year progressed, she was able to know when something was just kind of a flare-up and when something was more serious and she had to wait on some results to find out about. But what was fun to watch Bailey was her ability to still show up and drive through some of the workouts, even though her body was asking her to stop in many cases. Earning her Achievement Award, Miss Bailey on the road. And our third junior, Avery Poplars, is an individual that if you could take the work ethic of and multiply across your entire team, you know that every year in and year out, you would have a state caliber program. Avery is the type of kid that is going to drive her body almost to the limit every single time you ask her to. So I want to recognize her with her Achievement Award, Avery Poplars. I would like you to need to please keep it to 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes. All right, here we go. I'm going to recognize first the first-year cross-country runner out for track the last 3 years. What's impressive about Colton is he's a sprinter. And when he asked his sprint coach, Coach Schneider on the track team, what is it that I can do to better prepare myself for next spring, Coach Schneider said, well, do you do anything in the fall? And he said, not currently, other than just be good looking. And Coach Schneider said, run cross country. So So I think even he started showing up to some of the splash pads, some of the runs in the summer. Told me he was going to come out, and I was excited because he's a great guy. He's a good kid to have around. He's a good voice of reason. On a very young team, he can offer some experienced eyes and opinions at times. I was impressed with his ability to fight through what was not natural to his body, distance running. But to start setting goals and start going out with guys that he thought he could beat. I hope he had a good time. I sure had a good time having him on the team. Mr. Colton Madison.
Hi, Colton, like you just said. Oh, can I get it? Okay, hi, Colton, give me my speech. Let me just get my phone real quick. Kind of run over an outline. Okay, I joined cross country like Coach Parker said because I wanted to put my sprinting or stay in shape instead of just doing nothing. What else did I say? The idea of running miles and miles every day really didn't sound pleasing to me at all. Like I was scared. I talked to Henry this summer. Henry, right there. And I was like, dude, should I just run 3 miles like every day to like get better at that, or run like more? And then he told me, well, for workouts or long runs, we have to run 8 miles. And I was like, crap. So wasn't really excited for that, but thankfully I've only ran 7.5 miles as the longest run. So, which was fun. It was actually pretty chill by myself. That cool day. But running, you know, for 20 minutes with a 180 like rate heartbeat, with my lungs being terrible, is awful in my opinion. And I wouldn't be lying if every time I ran, like before my meet, I was scared to run. I don't know if you guys ever felt that, but like it was awful. I was like, I'm not running this at all. And then it was fun during the meet, you know, getting that heart rate going in the first like minute. I was like, I want to be done right away. And I did. Especially our last conference, all that mud, all the other people, I really wanted to quit, but I PR'd thankfully, so. Big shout out and thanks to my parents for always supporting me, always coming to my meets, and it's just really great. Coach Parker, all the other coaches, always making me feel important. When I did football in middle school, I never really had that. But they really make me feel like I mattered, and I know they make everyone else feel important, and they care for everyone, not just the talent, their talented coaches. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And I think that's really all I have to say, so thank you guys.
Our senior captain, I'll talk more about him in a little bit, but what I've enjoyed watching from Alex over the years, Alex is a chameleon. He can adapt to so many situations. He can be a follower, he can be a leader, a ringleader, a kind of wallflower at times. Those are a little fewer and further between. But Alex can be, he is a great person to have on your team. So much so that even people from last year as seniors voted Alex as a captain. And I'll talk more about his leadership skills, but what I want to mention today is his adversity, his ability to fight adversity. He made some choices this summer in his training that were ill-advised at times. I think back-to-back days he ran a full marathon on an indoor track and then a half marathon road race, trail run. Ultra. Wow. So, yeah. You ran 13.1 miles. Oh, excuse me, 31. Okay. Yeah, at Devil's Lake. So, unfortunately for him, it did not come as a surprise to me. He was dealing with some tendonitis at the beginning of the season in his IT band. And that really bothered him because you can tell when a kid knows, yeah, maybe that wasn't the best choice. It's great to tell people I did, but now look at the ramifications. he did not let that stop his enjoyment of being around the team, and he didn't get set back in what his goals were. Now, unfortunately, he ran out of season. He also came into a bit of a run-in with COVID for a short stint, and it's darn tough to run cross-country with that. So to be able to finish his season almost PRing but winning the conference JV meet just goes to show what he was willing to put on the line for the team. And that meant a lot to me as the year progressed, as his career has progressed. But I want to give him his second varsity letter now, and I'll talk a little bit more about him. Alex Gardner, come on up.
I'm not going to listen to that timer. I've had many boys come before me, and many senior classes much longer than mine. So I'm going to say a few more words. I'm going to be honest. I'm also going to start off with more funny stuff, and then I'll get serious as the day goes on. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't really do that. I don't remember anything I was going to say that was funny. All right. I spent a lot of time thinking about what I would say in this speech. So much that I would consider it not my first time giving this speech. I've given it my daydreams in my head before meets, and actually during meets, during the conference meet, after the 2 mile, I was envisioning what I was going to say right now. So, I've done this before. It's not that hard. And after all these, and after all those rehearsals in my head, I no longer think it's important to recount the tales of victory, my own tales of victory and defeat. Instead, I believe I should share my experience, so hopefully the younger among you can benefit from my failures, as I had to do the failure to then learn from it. Hopefully you can not do what I did wrong and learn from it anyway. So before I start off with that, I would like to start off thanking the people that got me here today. And I will start off thanking those people from the very beginning. I don't see where Miss Parker is, but she started this whole thing. Yeah, there's Miss Parker. In 8th grade, I was a shadow of what I am now. As a little guy, I wasn't even a good guy. I was pretty bad. Miss Parker, I was done. Too good of a student in 8th grade science class. I'm gonna be honest. I made a line graph and I was supposed to make a bar graph, and I didn't even realize until I got up there and had to present my line graph. And connected, and it was like different colors. You remember that? Yeah. It was terrible. But then I was in the car, like it was like COVID time or whatever, and we were like picking up science materials. I was doing at-home science. Did I do the at-home science? Ow. In the car, I was in the car and she's like, Alex, I think you should join cross country. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever, I'll join cross country. Loki kind of said that to get out of the conversation. But Mom signed me up for cross country anyway. And here I am, and I could not thank more of Miss Parker for letting me be a part, or encouraging me to be a part of this amazing team. Thank you. Because even though Miss Parker got me to the team, I was still just like a little guy who didn't really know a whole lot. And I wasn't a part of it. But Reed Borowski, I'm the last one who even remembers this guy. I feel old, but I'm definitely not dead. Compared to some of you. But yeah, he invited me to my first chocolate milk mile. And to my dad's enjoyment, I ran while drinking chocolate milk. And not only is running and drinking chocolate milk probably not the best idea, I'm lactose intolerant. I was paying for that night for days. It was bad. But I've since learned from my mistakes. I still run the chocolate milk mile, and I'm going to put on the best chocolate milk mile, the 608 has ever seen. About a week or something. Everybody, it's gonna be something. Oh yeah. Yeah, the senior really brought me my first chocolate milk mile. And I hope that I could bring some of you guys into the events this year. Like Brennan, my boy, best sandwich artist in the 608. I was talking to this guy at Subway on break. We don't really do a whole lot of Subway, so I had a lot of time to talk to him about cross country. Marcus, another excellent sandwich artist, recruited him as well. And it's just been a joy to see these guys develop and grow with the team. And I'm so glad that you boys decided to come out here and run this thing. And to my next seniors, the boys of Hayden, Mason, the team head, those boys started with the really strong instrument. We go up and we hit in the woods, just a bunch of dudes way up north. And we don't even run anymore. It's actually from running. Originally supposed to go up there to run, no more running. I don't know why we do that. Another thing I was I can talk about Coach Parker for a very long time. I've actually made many speeches about Coach Parker. Whenever I'm asked to do something like, who do you look up to? It's Coach Parker. And in 10th grade, we had a speech on someone who inspired me. And Coach Parker. The leadership that Coach Parker displays is something I haven't seen from anybody else in my entire life. Coach Parker is not a guy who's going to come out there on the first day of practice and start yelling at you for push-ups. He's the kind of guy who notices the difference every single time. He notices everybody gets a haircut. And it's like, I got a haircut. And it's just and then today, I walk in and he's like, Alex, you look mighty fine in that suit. And I'm like, it's just so kind. And that kindness commands respect. I respect Coach Parker more than a lot of people. I like describe how much I respect Coach Parker. And it's hard for me to talk to him sometimes because I respect him so much. When I mess up, it's hard for me to face Coach Parker because I respect him that much. He means that much to me. And honestly, when I was thinking about running that ultra marathon, I was afraid to talk to Coach Parker. And this is one of those lessons that I think everybody should learn. When you're afraid of something, think about why. Right? So I was afraid of Coach Parker. I didn't think why I was afraid. But I was afraid of him because I knew he wouldn't like me running an ultra marathon for the cross country season. And my IT band showed that it was a very bad idea. So if you're afraid of something, think why. All right? And it'll help you a lot. Oh yes, quality is what I think a good leader should be. So, Felix, I know you're already something. But as a senior, like one of the only seniors, the only 4-year senior, C-Dog, not even better. Yeah, to be the only 4-year senior, outnumbered by a bunch of ankle biters, it's pretty hard. Like in past years, every single senior is a leader, right? But now it's just me and C-Dog. And the guys are calling C-Dog fresh because he's only been here 4 years. So it's just me trying to fight these guys. I was trying to do push-ups for saying bad words. Half of them never did their push-ups. Like some of you guys got some push-ups. Rat up. But yes, I think the qualities of a good leader should be. I think a good leader should command respect. And that's kind of hard sometimes, I'm going to be honest. But Miles, please have them respect you. It's pretty hard to have, oh yeah, and then to command respect. I really should have written something down. I thought I could just get up here and go for it. Not really that great at it. Yeah, I'm over the time. Keep going. Yeah, sorry, man. I'm sorry. Moon on the moon.
I hope that Arthur Senior is ready to compete with that. So let's talk about Quinn. This is Quinn's 4th cross-country season. Tonight she'll be earning her 3rd varsity win. Those of you who know Quinn, or Q, probably know that she accepts nothing less than the best in cross-country and really in every facet. Coach Parker mentioned Avery's strong work ethic and how we wish we could have a whole team of that. The person sitting right next to her is the same. Quinn is one of our few runners who has truly found her limits. Quinn ran her all-time PR in the sectional meet this year to help propel our team to state. And for those of you who don't already know, had we not gone to state as a team, Quinn would have been the final individual qualifier. She had a courageous 3rd mile on Saturday at state when it looked like she was struggling a bit in the middle, but she turned that around and finished it strong. She really finished her career in Quinn-like fashion, giving the race all that she had. So Quinn Howlick, 3rd varsity winner.
I've been thinking about what I wanted to say in this speech for a long time. Since I only have 3 minutes, I'll try to keep it brief. But I want to say that sports class can change my life. I owe a lot of my happiness and success in my life to sport. This team, these coaches. I've learned so much about the value of hard work and the really worthy sessions and dark moments I experienced as part of this team. Cross country has definitely opened my eyes to all the benefits hard work is. Cross country has also taught me the importance of working as a team. I've also learned a lot about resilience, self-discipline, commitment, and facing my fears. These lessons were taught to me not only by sport, but also by people around me. So I'd like to end these people lessons. Thank you first to my family, for always supporting me and taking me by the hand. Thank you for coming to every meeting possible and for always making sure I'm not overworking myself. I love you guys. If I had never been part of this team, I wouldn't have been 2 of 30 sprint. Avery and Taylor, I have to make amends. Avery, thank you for always being there and for being so good and keeping me above me and right. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're
respect for the challenges of our racing has stretched her perceived limits. Such a great role model for our younger runners. Personally, when I think of Stacy, I think about her positivity and her inclusion of everybody. I've always considered her to be the cheerleader of our team, and I think that a lot of people do. Stacy had the toughest job at the state meet, as she did not expect to run and was informed she would go just 48 hours ahead of time. If Smith's record served, Stacy becomes just the second girl to compete at state in both cross country and track, with the first being Kate Howard. Stacy Kirkowski.
I was probably a full mile behind. The only thing I can remember is running down that hill and seeing the entire team standing there calling for me. That was one of the first times I've ever been on a team that has been so truly supportive, and I can't thank you guys enough. It's been like that my whole 3 years, and I hope you guys continue to do like that.
Next up, we have Rylan Overs. This is her 4th season, and she's earning her 4th varsity letter tonight. While high performance will always be a noted facet of Rylan's cross-country career, Coach Smith says he will remember her growth most as a leader for our team. Who was to know when she was a freshman that she would one day become a daily local force? Her confidence in front of her peers has become a strong suit for her team. Her ability to share her experience will continue to be felt next season. There were several meets this season where Smith and I would be talking to each other as everybody was getting ready, and we always thought it was so cool how Rylan was the one explaining the course to everyone else. She was really showing a lot of leadership at every meet this season. Rylan saved her best complete race of the year for the state meet. Experience of having been there before certainly helped her, but she ran with the determination of a senior in her last event. Rylan became just the 2nd in our program's history to compete in the state meet in 3 or 4 years. Rylan Over.
Freshman year, I had a really ended up running cross country, but volleyball got canceled due to COVID, so I kind of just wanted to try. And I was really just hoping to stay until for soccer. But running cross country was one of the best seasons of my career. It has allowed me to achieve so many things that I didn't know I was able to love, and it has pushed me to be a better athlete. I would say my best memories in cross country, and I think it's going to be my first memories. I want to thank Coach Smith for always pushing me to my best and for guiding me to be able to achieve everything that I did. I also want to thank Coach Parker and Coach May for always being so supportive and helping me with whatever I did. And I also want to thank my parents for always supporting me with this.
All right, last but certainly not least, Heidi Schwertling, 4th season, 1st varsity letter tonight. So Smith writes that what he appreciates most about Heidi was her ability to identify what she wanted out of cross country and then apply herself to make it success. Often in practice this year, Heidi would be running without peers next to her, but her attitude in these instances was unwavering and always positive. I can remember some practices where Smith would give, say, 4 to 6 miles. There's Heidi going on the long field at 6 miles, despite the fact that she was only
because you need to do so or you will build by the end of the week. So make sure that guys either get them turned in over here or girls get them turned in to Coach Gabriel there. We have some team awards. First round of team awards are most improved. Again, this is difficult to measure when you have kids running at 30 minutes and they drop to 24 minutes. Is a 6-minute drop more impressive than going from 18 minutes down to 16:45 or something like that? What's more important or impressive? It's hard to measure most improvement unless you start to look at the impact on the team as well. And so when you look at the impact, whether it's in practice or in meets, really the depth of the guys' team was just layered on with the improvement of Wyatt Parker. Average team rank of 6.67 last year, finished with a ranking of 2.5 this year, just scratching the surface of her abilities. MJ Nelson. Coaches Awards, as a coach, you look to give this award to someone that you know is not only doing what they're being asked to do while you're in front of them, but what they're being asked to do while you're not in front of them. There were two young men that, there's a lot of guys on the team that have just committed their time to running, but I know that when the dust settles, I don't have to question what they do with the advice I give them. I know that they're taking it where it's intended to land. The two coaches awards for the guys this year, Mason Dobbs and Lucas Tanner. MVP is pretty straightforward in cross country. Sometimes there's a little bit of debate, but when you take a look at the team average of where they finish, it's pretty clear for the guys this year. The only question that still remains, though, is what's next for Elijah Gabriel. So as I mentioned, the highest honor I think bestowed on a student athlete from a team is the captain's award. For the guys, it's a vote, and then I do oversee some sort of veto power if something comes up. But this year, much like last year, the team recognized Alex's leadership both as a ambassador to the sport, but also willingness to put in the effort when he needed to put in the effort, sometimes overboard with the ultramarathon. But more importantly, welcoming to every member of the team. You know, I think back to his junior year, what got him elected was his willingness to bridge the gap between freshmen and seniors. And I think that he continued to follow that blueprint this year. I was impressed both by his leadership of the team, but by his growth as a leader. So earning his captain award, Alex Carter.
For the girls' team, the captains aren't voted on per se. But Coach Smith named the captains this year based on feedback from last year's athletes, in combination with who he would be really served. Like Coach Parker said, this is the greatest individual honor that you can attain on our team. To be recognized by your peers to lead us is the highest compliment you can earn. And these four brought us stability and organization to be efficient and at practice and at ease. They continued our trend of a welcoming climate while growing our team culture. In concert with one another, they all formed a good leadership. And I think a lot of their good traits have already been talked about tonight. So we have Twin Alec and Taylor Lucier who continued their dedication and hard work to show us the team. We have Rylan, who became an outspoken leader, really showing the younger athletes today. And we have Stacy Kipkowski, our team cheerleader, who is always so encouraging to athletes. So let's give these four a round of applause.
All right, no matter what anybody said, be sure to tell Smith we broke the all-time shortest banquet record. Okay? Thank you very much.